Just received a text from my wife this morning while I was at work that the Amish shed that I ordered here a couple months ago is ready. So decided to take a trip out to see the gentleman that built it and pay him. Of course, I'm going to take the Mustang, one of the few, probably last few really good days of the year. These Amish sheds are an extremely good deal. You get a really heavy duty shed. You can get them pretty good size. The one that I got is only 12 by 16. I already have a 12 by 24. I'm going to use it mainly for storing some of my kids' stuff until they try to pull out here, losing my train of thought. Until they get established a little bit. I sound like a broken record now. But they've got our basement clear full of parts, different totes and all kinds of stuff. One boy's big into computers, so he's got computer stuff in there and whatever else. So decided to get this second Amish shed so that they could both store their stuff in there until they get established, they get their own home and the whole works. So just stop by and see this Amish guy, and hopefully he'll be there. Getting a little bit of a late start. I was just at the grocery store and ran into a good friend of my dad's. Used to do some racing with him at one time, and we had a pretty good long conversation. Kind of happy to see him. He's doing really well. He just retired a couple years ago. Don't get to see any of those guys very often. It's nice to, whenever I do, it's nice to stop by and talk to him for a while. I don't know how much of this I'm going to film as far as driving over there. I'll probably shut this camera off here in a minute. Nobody wants to get bored watching me drive down the road. So I'll start it back up here a little bit later in the process, I guess. There's another one just like mine sitting there. Probably couldn't see that. I don't have the camera facing that way. There was two on the lot when I bought this one. I think that's the second one. Still trying to get the shift timing down. It's a little bit better, but I'm just not really, I don't know. I don't like the hydraulic slave cylinder. I've always in the past raced top loaders with a cable and a quadrant and everything. And it just seems like it responds better when you're trying to shift. So it's getting a little bit better, but still not real good. I didn't shift this thing very high, maybe about 5,500 or so. I wasn't trying to get going real fast, but I do try to, every once in a while, get a little bit of open road, maybe do a little practice, I guess. It's been kind of a rough few weeks here. Good friend of my boys, they grew up with from the time they were little kids. Their dad died of a heart attack here a couple weeks ago. They just lived up here a ways, and it was a really sad thing. He's only a couple years older than I am, and their whole family was very, very tight knit. All three of the boys would follow him around all the time, and it was definitely a sad week that week. And then 3 days after that, the guy I work with and have worked with for the 20-some years that I've worked there, had a heart attack. Luckily, he didn't die, and he's probably going to be all right. But man, it's just start thinking to yourself, who's next, or maybe I'm next. I guess that's the sort of thing as you get older. That thing happens more and more often, and that's something I'm not looking forward to. Is seeing people I've known for years start dying off. Amish, this particular guy builds about the best sheds around. There's several of them that build sheds, and he's probably the best one, and he also best one and then has the most reasonable prices, but he doesn't take any shortcuts whenever he builds them. He builds them really well, so that's why the second one I bought off of him, I continue to buy him off of him as well, as long as he keeps making as well as he had. And when we pull up here, it's going to be kind of neat. It'll be almost like Little House on the Prairie. Everybody, the little girls will be running around in petticoats, and they'll all be dressed kind of like back then, 19th century. And last time I was there, whenever I park off to the side and back away from the barn, and wagon came with a whole team of horses pulling it past me and everything. It was pretty interesting. But we still got a ways to go, so I'm going to shut this camera off for now. Now we're getting a little bit closer now, so I thought I'd turn the camera back on here. Off to the side there, that little side street we just went past is where my 68 Mustang is, old 68 Mustang is stored. The guy sold it to 1996, I think it was, somewhere around there. I don't think he's driven it more than 2 or 3 times since then. It's one car I never should have got rid of, but made some pretty decent money on it, so I guess that's what it's all about sometimes. I'm trying to remember where this is at up here. Remember, right, there's a sign. I don't get out this way very often, so I'm not real familiar. I know the last time I drove past it and had to come back and find it. There should be a sign along the side of the road that says Amish Sheds. I think this is it right here, if I remember right. No, not here. Next one up. That's the one I drove up the last time thinking it was it. Did the exact same thing the last time. I drove up that other one about a half a mile and realized that wasn't it. Probably it right up front there. it's all paid off, and I have to call the guy to haul it, and we'll be all set to go. I'm glad to get that before winter hit too much. And get that loaded up with stuff. Got a pretty small house, so I don't have a whole lot of room for other things. I don't know if you can see this gentleman in the cart here. Definitely live in the 19th century. The fellow was just telling me about the shed off of that. His sons were just in the youth deer hunt. They each got a deer. He was in there processing it. He's going to make some deer bologna. And he probably has about 10 sons, so he's got a lot of deer. But the Amish are good, hard-working people, but I guess they're just like everybody else. There's good ones and bad ones. And this fella here is one of the good guys, so I'm happy to give him my business. There's another guy up the road here that really isn't one of the good guys. He's been known to try and cheat people and whatever else, which that's not just an Amish thing, that's a human thing. And he won't get any of my money since he's like that. I don't know, probably I'm not going to bore you driving all the way back home. I just thought I'd show this nice little jaunt out to the Amish farm to pay off my shed. And I'll probably shut this camera off now and that'll be it. So, probably bore the heck out of you, but maybe not.